Welcome to Maxability. To unfold different layers of knowledge, stay tuned with us till the end of the video.
Just push the record button. So let's get started. Let the people join as they come in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever are you in the part of the world. So let's get started without any further delay. This is a webinar by Maxability talking about how can you simplify accessibility testing. No additional study required for this. To get started, though we talk about WCAG, W3C standards or Section 508, or EN 301549, which are the global accessibility standards, it is more important for us to understand what accessibility testing means without touching the accessibility guidelines, without not much going into the technical details of what the success criteria says. For those who just joined, we just got started, and we are talking about the webinar and why is it important. So I know there are seasoned accessibility professionals here. Thank you for joining, and also a warm welcome for the people who are starting their career or probably want to just know what accessibility testing means or what accessibility means by itself for any digital content. Thank you for joining today. So a little bit about me. I am Rakesh Paladugula. I am working as a product manager for accessibility at Adobe. That's my day job. And I run this little website called Maxability. Maxability is a platform where we share knowledge, information about digital accessibility. We just completed 10 years of our Maxability journey last month. And this is a passion for me to teach accessibility, bring more professionals, make the digital space more comfortable and useful for a lot of people, regardless of their abilities. I am into accessibility consulting and auditing for almost 12 years now. And it is my pleasure to be teaching you or learning from you on accessibility. So why we do accessibility? Though we talk about accessibility as a need for people with disabilities, there are a lot of other necessities, or there are a lot of other things, other people, other disabilities, or other criteria which makes an accessible content useful. You talk about a situational disability, like you are on a day sunlight and you want to view your mobile phone. Though you don't have any disability, you still want to uh, be aware of some accessibility features and accessibility settings so that the experience on the mobile during the sunlight is useful for you. It's true that all of us becomes old, and there will be age old difficulties. Can be hearing loss, can be poor vision, or any other related challenges. So we will be using our own products beyond 60. So it's not just for disabilities, but there are so many other situations where we will be using accessibility features knowingly or unknowingly. But let me talk about disabilities. The disabilities that we take care of on accessibility, for accessibility, whether you take any accessibility standards, there will be a alignment of each success criterion with a disability or disabilities. So Most apparently we talk about visual, because vision is the most challenging problem that we have to solve for digital accessibility. Vision includes people with blindness, people with low vision, people with color blindness, etc. So we're just on a high level, we'll be talking about vision impairment. Similarly, people who have hearing challenges, hearing disabilities can be of uh, various types and various what do you call various situations, maybe mild to moderate to severe hearing challenges. So each of them have a specific way of handling the content. Similarly, we have physical challenges like the muscular dystrophy, or limited hand movement, or do not have limb, do not have hand, or do not have fingers, etc. So these challenges may cause people not to be able to use the mouse, or maybe firmly point on a specific icon or an element on a digital content. Or probably we probably not be able to use mouse properly, or use a touch screen because of the limited physical space we have, physical attributes that we have. Similarly, we have cognitive challenges. People may have attention deficiency, people may have autism, or people may have mental challenges, mild to moderate to severe. So we'll be talking a bit about cognitive challenges and various success criteria of accessibility standards. Similarly, last but not the least is the speech impairment. 5 6 years ago, we are have not been talking much about these speech challenges, but uh, the speech challenges in the modern IoT kind of a situation that we are working on. Say it can be voice recognition, say it may be a Google Home device, or Alexa, or sorry, Echo, etc. So speech recognition or speech impairment is also having a significant impact on digital content. So these are different categories of people we will be handling when we make accessibility adjustments. The first and foremost thing that we need to take care of accessibility is the keyboard testing. As we talked about the challenges for physical disabilities or challenges with vision impairment, both of them have to be relying on the keyboard. A person who has vision challenge cannot use mouse, because uh, mouse is a pointing device, and a person with blindness cannot locate where the mouse pointer is to do a right click or a double click, etc. But they will be able to use the keyboard with the proper training, with the commands, with the alphabetical keyboard that they have on their computers, or maybe also connecting the refreshable braille displays. So keyboard testing is so critical that you are handling both physical and vision challenges together. So how do you do that testing? So the simple way of doing it is use a tab key on your keyboard. No additional software required. Take your laptop or a computer, try to navigate and interact with entire web page just with a keyboard. So fundamentally, tab and shift tab will take you to the next and previous controls on the screen, and you can use spacebar or enter key to do a selection or activation. These are the simplest things that you can do. Next time when you try to access your computer or write an email to your colleague, just try doing it with the mouse. Just try tabbing through the compose button, activate it, try to fill in the email field, the subject field, and email, write the email and send it across. You'll feel how comfortable it is if the web page is accessible. If you cannot do any of these actions, either by tab and shift tab keys or the space bar and enter keys, that means this application is not accessible. Sometimes you may also have complex interactions, such as rotating a carousel, or maybe selecting the tab within a set of tabs, maybe selecting a date from a calendar. These are more complex interactions, need specific key commands that you may have to use depending on how the component is developed. But to do the fundamental accessibility testing, all that you need to have is a keyboard enabled, the browser that opens the web page that you need to test, tabs and shift tabs. Let us quickly do one demonstration of how we can do an accessibility testing with a keyboard. Let's take a wonderful example of a Smashing website, Smashing Magazine's website. So this is a popular website called Smashing Magazine. So all that you can do is, because you shouldn't be using the mouse, what I'm going to do is to get to the address bar. I'm on Chrome and I use Alt plus D. Alt D will take me to the address bar of this browser. So here I will type in the address, which is already populated there. I'm using tab key to navigate through. So currently the focus is on the skip to main content link. I'm just using the tab key to navigate through. I'm using tab key to navigate through. If you are able to see the focus indicator, a bordered line around the item that is currently in focus, that is good. If for some reason you are not able to identify where the current focus is, then it is an accessibility problem. Think about someone who cannot use mouse, who is dependent on the keyboard alone and is tabbing through the page, and if he does not know where he currently is, then it is definitely an accessibility problem. He is not able to identify his presence. You don't know what is that he is activating. So I'm currently on booths, events. So here it is a more button, and I can do an expand collapse of this. What I will just do is to hit a space bar to see whether it is expanding or not. It is expanded. I will press space bar once again. It is collapsed. So whenever you need to do an activation or a selection, space and enter keys are the buttons that will help you do that. Search articles. While you do this, you can also identify whether the focus that is going through when you press the tab key, is it really going in a logical way or not? Does that sequence make meaning to the user? If it is not going in a sequential order, in a meaningful order, or what the order that you expect the content should be, then it is also an accessibility problem. So now you are doing three things. One, you are checking whether the tab key is navigating through all the interactive controls. Number two, you are checking whether there is an indication where the current focus is with the bordered focus indicator. Number three, you're also checking whether the content is navigated sequentially when the tab key is used or not. All of these three items are the accessibility requirements. So here we are on a radio button that is asking you to select an option from this. So what I can also do here is use up and down arrow keys to change the selection of the radio buttons, provided if this is coded as per the accessibility requirements. No. Unfortunately, it's not doing that. I cannot change the option of radio buttons with the tab key, sorry, up and down arrow keys. In this case, there is an additional information with each of these links. Probably it is not working as expected, but the user experience should be that in such a way that the user should be able to use up and down arrow keys to switch between the options of a radio group. Okay. So what has happened here is technically they have used the radio buttons, but they have created a tab kind of a panel navigation. So though I am not able to use up and down arrow keys, I am able to use left and right arrow keys to switch between the tabs. So I am on a monthly subscription option now. And if I press right arrow, it have navigated from the monthly to an annual subscription. Though it is working as a radio button, it is coded as a tab. So there is some ambiguity here in terms of how the navigation pattern should be. It should be either a tab navigational pattern or it should be a radio button navigational pattern. So this is an accessibility problem. Users should be able to identify the pattern to identify the selection, whether it is a radio button or if it's a radio button, user will be using up and down arrow keys. If it is a tab, then user will be using left and right arrow keys. Though the intentions are good, the information conveyed to the user is not clear. So we did navigate it from one element to another in the forward navigation. Let me do it in the reverse order. So I can go even back, shift tab. So in this process, if you have identified if any control that is not receiving focus, control meaning which is interactive, it can be a link, it can be a button, it can be an expandable collapsible thing, it can be a text box, radio button, checkbox, etc. All the interactive controls on the page should receive the keyboard focus. If at all the keyboard is not able to navigate to a particular control on this screen, then it is an accessibility violation. So let me move to the next slide. So that's about the keyboard, the most important, the easiest one that you can check. And the next one is the text resize and the reflow options. Text resizing and reflow is such a simple test that you can do without again any software. Just launch the browser and turn on the web page that you want to test. All that you need to do is zoom the page, use the Ctrl++ key that will allow you to zoom up to 200% is one requirement. So I'm using Ctrl++ key. One 10%, 125. So now we have increased the zoom until 200%. At this junction, just check the web page and identify if there is any loss of content, functionality, or if there is any content that is overlapped on the residing paragraphs or content. If any of the content or the functionality is not usable when the user increases the zoom up to 200%, then it is an accessibility violation. So bringing back to the normal browser size. Similarly, what you also can do in the new success criterion of WCAG 2.1 content reflow is that the web page should be responsive, meaning if you have increased in the simple terms, if you zoom a page up to 400%, then the user should be able to read the content without any loss, of course, of content or functionality. But the UI can be changed into a single column layout. In the general web layout, you may see 3 or 4 columns in a page. But when you zoom it up to 400%, it may just go into fit into a single column layout. In the single column layout, make sure that the content is easily readable, ensuring that the low vision person can read the content from line 1, beginning of line 1 until the end of line 1, and then easily transform from line 1 to line 2 without any ambiguity, without missing what he is reading. In the same process, also check if there is any content that has to be used in a two-dimensional uh, reflow. If the content has to be read in a two-dimension, then it is a challenge for the user. So if it is a single column, it will be a vertical line. The content will be read one after the other. The scrolling of the content should not be in a two-dimensional unless there is a specific reason why two-dimensional content is important. Example of maps, example of images, or example of tables probably might not make any proper sense if it is fit into a single column layout and the content is just broken into a single vertical line. So except for these graphs or maps, the content should be read by the user in a single dimension by scrolling in one direction. That's about for a low vision person how you provide the content in reflowing. The next one is about the color contrast and the use of colors. So using of colors, people may be talking that this color is not good for accessibility, that color is not good for accessibility, etc. But that is a myth. Any color can be used as text. Content can be used in any color, any font style or size, but ensure that that is clearly visible, readable. For the contrast specifically, ensure that the contrast of the colors of the text with its background is clearly identifiable. When someone reads the content, it should be contrast enough for them to read the content. So for people with low vision, or when you are looking at the content in the sunlight, or people having color blindness, it is tough sometimes to differentiate the colors or differentiate the text with its background or differentiate the symbol with its surrounding content. Sometimes it is difficult to identify in a set of 5 items. You probably will not be clearly able to identify which one is currently selected, which one is completed, or which one is yet to be filled, etc. So to solve this problem, there are specific requirements that are provided by W3C's WCAG standards to identify the contrast. So the rule is that a minimum contrast ratio of 4.5:1 is required for text color with its background so that it is clearly visible. Anything beyond 4.5:1 is good, but something goes down beyond 4.1, 4.5.1, 4.5:1 is probably a challenging content. So let us now see how we can get that color contrast checked. So we need a simple tool called color contrast analyzer. We will be providing that in the URL or in the video they're going to share. All that you need to do is to see how the color contrast can be checked here. So I'm just turning on a video here.
check for color contrast, download the color contrast analyzer tool from the Bachelor group. The link is available in the description. In WCAG 2.1, there are two success criteria. The first one is 1.4.3 contrast minimum, and the second is 1.4.11 non-text contrast. The talk about color contrast. Let us now see how to check the contrast in both scenarios. Open the tool.
New notification from Google Chrome, Facebook, Ding.
Open the web page or PSD where you have to test for color contrast. Click on foreground eyedropper and pick the foreground that is the text color. Click on the background eyedropper and pick the background color. See that in the color contrast section, the contrast ratio is displayed according to WCAG 2.1, 1.4.3 contrast minimum. The text and the background must have a minimum contrast ratio of 4.5:1. In this case, the contrast ratio is 1.9:1. Hence, it is failed. If the font size is 18 point or 14 point, bold and above, the required contrast ratio is just 3:1. Let us now see another success criteria. 1.4.11 non-text contrast. According to this WCAG 2.1 requirement, any symbols, signs, icons that are not textual but convey significant information to the user must have a minimum color contrast ratio of 3:1 within the color of the non-text item with its immediately surrounding color. To check the contrast ratio, pick the foreground color as you did previously. Now the foreground color is the color of the symbol, while the background color is the immediately surrounding color. See that the color contrast is 2.9:1. This failed for 1.4.11 non-text contrast. Points to be considered while testing the color contrast. For success criteria 1.4.3, text embedded into the images also need to be checked for color contrast. Colors and logos that are part of branding and those do not have significance are not required to pass the color contrast requirement, though the inactive controls are not required to meet the minimum contrast ratio of 4.5:1. It is a good practice to meet the requirement. For certain items, if color is the only way to distinguish from surrounding content, example a link within a paragraph, color contrast between those two items must be at least 3:1. Thanks to all.
So if for some reason, if you're not able to hear this entire video, we'll be posting this into on YouTube soon, and we'll share you the link along with the presentation as soon as it is available. The next easy check that you can do is with the videos. So obviously, people with hearing challenges will have problems using or identifying and understanding the videos. You take an example, a video on a YouTube or any other popular social media. For persons with hearing challenges, in order to experience what the video is talking about, provide captions. Ensure that The captions are synchronized with the video without much latency, and this latency can be okay for maybe 2-3 seconds if it is a live video. For the pre-recorded videos, it is always good to have the content in the caption synchronized with the video. It is also important that you have audio descriptions for synchronized videos like movies. It is important to read out the visuals that are significant for the user to understand what the video is talking about. There are a lot of movies or a lot of scenes that are significant have only the videos that are displayed, but there is no way a person with blindness can experience that visuals. Of course, people say a video experience is the best one, but if that videos, the nature or any other experiences that are so visual in appearance and so beautiful, if they cannot be described to a person with blindness, they'll be losing a lot of important information. So ensure that captions and audio descriptions are provided. It does not require any tools or any technology to understand if the captions are provided or not. And the next one I'm going to talk about is a tool which is free to use and very easy to use. Though my intention is not to add any tools in this simplify accessibility testing kind of a webinar, but I saw this tool by Microsoft. Microsoft Insights is so intuitive and very simple to use. All that you need to do is to download this Chrome extension, and I think you also have an Edge extension for Edge. You can install this tool called Microsoft Insights for Web and add it to your Chrome, and I'll just show you how to use the tool. So let us go back to this web page on the Smashing magazine. So I have just added a shortcut command to trigger the Insights tool. Let me hit that. So there are two tests here. One is a guided audit test, and another one is a quick audit tool. I'm just clicking this one. So the automation test is done. Oh, just give me a minute. Let's start over. So there are 32 failures that are detected by the tool. There are 32 failures, so I can just go through each one of them if I require. I am just expanding the entire list of issues here. So if I can go through each of these issues. If you don't understand, don't worry. All that you need to do is, so here you have all the details that are required, under which success criteria it is failed, what is the code snippet that is failed, what is the solution to fix that issue. So you can just run this tool, and you can also export the issues and share it with the developer if they want to fix them. So it's so simple and easy to use. On the back end, it is running the Axe rule engine, which is one of the robust accessibility rule engine in the accessibility industry. So all that you need to do is just run this tool, export the issues, and share it with the developer for them to understand and fix those issues. Uh, it is free to use, easy to use, and a best tool that you can understand the issues easily, not really a tough thing. You have all this information that is required. So switching on to the next slide. So the next one is about the screen reader testing. Um, I know it's not easy for you to learn screen reader overnight. Screen reader, if someone does not know what screen reader means, screen reader is a piece of software that you can install on your on your computer. Um, Windows, there are screen readers like NVDA, non-visual desktop access, which is free, and there is one screen reader called JAWS, job access with speech, which is a commercial screen reader. Install on your Windows. On Mac, VoiceOver is a built-in screen reader that comes in along with your Mac operating system. So all that you need to do is to turn on VoiceOver with Command F5 on your Mac machine. So the screen readers, maybe you can have a look at the videos provided on this URL. Sorry. There is a YouTube link. You can probably just go to our YouTube channel, Maxability A11Y, A11Y, Maxability A11Y, where you can see Alan Smith's webinar, where he spoke about how to do accessibility testing with the screen reader, NVDA. That's a whole webinar by itself. So I would recommend you, if you want to go in depth into accessibility testing and understand how a person with blindness uses these websites and how to test with that software, I recommend you to have a look at this video on our YouTube channel. And there is one blog that we wrote, 10 simple accessibility checks in 10 minutes. It's again how you visually scan through the page and say what are the accessibility problems. Few of them we already discussed. If there is a video, ensure that there are captions, ensure that the title of the page is identifiable, it is unique and understandable to identify what the content of the page is. Tab through and see if the focus indicator, the dotted lines around the currently focused control, is visible, etc. So there are such a 10 success criteria we did discuss on this blog. When you have time, just would appreciate you can go through this blog article and identify simple accessibility problems within 10 minutes. The intention of writing these blogs and this webinar is that when you have a customer that comes and say, can you tell if this website is accessible or not? All that you need to do is just fire up the web page on the browser, do a tab and see whether there is a focus indicator. Just look at the browser window and say whether the title is clear enough or not. By tabbing through, you can say whether the content is sequential in order or not. If there is any video, you can just run through the video and say whether captions are available or not. So within 15 minutes, I would say you can just come through a conclusion whether a website is accessible or not on a high level. And of course, the in-depth audit is always necessary to do a thorough accessibility check and provide an accurate and complete report. So that's about different things I thought I will talk during this session today. So I know this is a short session with a few tools and few manual accessibility checks that you can do. I know some of you were asking for the tool. I will share the tool in an email right after, probably not this meeting because it's already 9:30 p.m. here in India. By tomorrow, you'll see a list of items in your inbox with the tools, with the presentation, and additional information that you need. So you can also reach out to us, or you can like us on our Facebook page, maxability.co.in. On Twitter, we are at max_ability, and our YouTube channel, maxability A11Y, etc. So I'm open for any question and answers, but I would appreciate there is a poll that is running through to make sure that you get all the communication from us on this webinar and a participation email. Just say yes on the poll and open up for any questions you may have. Please unmute yourself if you have any questions and let's talk. Hello.
Yes, sir. What is the best way to learn 508 compliance?
So there are a couple of ways in which you can do. I think 508 is similar to what WCAG is, and
Okay.
there is this website called WebAIM, and we have on Maxability. You can see, I can share you the link where you have all the success criteria explained in detail. So in other ways also you can reach out to us. We can probably see how we can best support you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. One question I got is a poll on Zoom accessible for screen readers? I hope so. I am a screen reader user, by the way. I am able to create the poll and I am able to click with this poll, though I haven't tried making the attendance polling myself, but I suppose it should be.
Thank you for watching and being with us. Please like and share the video. Don't forget to click on the bell icon. And also, for more updates, subscribe the channel.